With opening day just a few weeks away, we're going to be looking at the 2023 Orioles roster and what we can expect from the team this season. In 2022, the Orioles shocked everyone, finishing with a staggering 83-79 record, a far cry from their 52-110 season the year prior. This has been the most excited Baltimore has been for the Orioles in quite a long time. And some people are thinking, could this team even make the playoffs? Today we're going to give a rough estimate of what the roster could look like come opening day. Now, before we get started, we won't be looking at any minor league players like Jackson Holliday or Colton Cowser. Now, a guy like Colton Cowser or Jordan Westbrook may get called up later in the season, but right now we're just looking at the opening day roster. We'll go position by position all the way around Diamond, and then we'll somehow find the pitching staff in there somewhere. First, starting at catcher, he stands at 6'2", 230 pounds. He is a father of many, Dadley Rutschman.
Are we shrimping today?
Shrimping?
Yeah.
To be completely serious though, there's a reason why I made an entire video dedicated to this man. He is the best Orioles player, probably since Manny Machado, and he would be a cornerstone of the franchise. A lot of people forget how much better the Orioles got once Adley got called up. Now, obviously, it wasn't all him, but he did play a huge factor into the Orioles getting 83 wins. Looking at Adley's 2022 season, he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, only behind some dude in Seattle. Looking at his stats, though, this man was a war machine. 5.2 WAR, not even a full season. He showed a little pop, hitting a few home runs, but where he strived was his on-base percentage. A 362 OBP is absolutely nuts for a rookie. Not to forget James McCann at backup catcher as well, but we will be slotting in Adley at catcher. Going over to first base, there is Ryan Mountcastle and nobody else. Now last year they had this guy, fan favorite, was really good, also played first base, but then he got traded. And now he's with the Cubs. Orioles fans can be praying Mountcastle doesn't get injured. Now when looking at Mountcastle's 2022 season, it can be a bit misleading. He hit just 22 home runs as opposed to his 33 in his dominant rookie season. So he got worse, right? Well, not really. You see, they moved this left field fence back, just a little bit. Despite the wall, Mountcastle will still be one of the most productive hitters in the Orioles lineup. So with no question, Mountcastle will be sliding in at first base. Going over to second base, we have a completely new face, Adam Frazier. He is a one-time All-Star in the biggest contract Mike Elias has ever signed to a position player in his tenure. Frazier certainly had a down year in 2022. Banged just 238 with a 301 on-base percentage. The Orioles are definitely hoping Frazier has a bounce-back season in 2023. At the other option of second base, we basically have a younger version of Adam Frazier, Taron Vavra. Vavra was a key bench piece that got involved later in the season, almost like a Swiss Army knife player where he can play everywhere, even playing at first base this season if necessary. Vavra will definitely get his playing time around the diamond, but second base is definitely a position he'll play when Frazier needs an off day. Vavra definitely won't be starting every day for the Orioles, but he'll definitely be a key piece on the roster. With Adam Frazier being the biggest signing in Mike Elias' tenure for a position player, he'll definitely be sliding in at second base on opening day. For shortstop, I believe the Orioles will be starting Jorge Mateo on opening day. Mateo's coming off a career season. Mateo, most known for his speed, swept 35 bags in 2022. Good for first in the American League. Mateo was admittedly terrible in the first half at the plate, but he definitely improved in the second half. Mateo really got actual Major League at-bats for the first time in his career, consistent day-to-day. And with that, he showed a lot of improvement. Now Orioles fans in 2023, hoping Mateo, most known for his speed and glove, can also improve on the offensive side, truly making him an all-around player. There are a few ideas rolling around that Mateo may have been traded in the offseason while his value is still high, but I believe the Orioles will roll with him come opening day. With that, we have Jorge Mateo sliding in at shortstop. Heading over to third base, we have not only just the Orioles' best prospect in their system, but the best prospect in all of baseball, Gunnar Henderson. Henderson shocked many in 2022, skyrocketing up the Orioles system all the way to the major leagues in September. As the biggest piece to come up since Adley, Henderson has a lot of pressure on him to perform well. In his 1 month for the majors, Henderson put up very solid stats, on his way to helping the Orioles stay in the playoff race up until the final week of the season. Henderson is the favorite in the American League right now to win the Rookie of the Year. He should slide in nicely playing the left side of the infield, but for this projection we have him starting at third base on opening day. If all goes well, this should be the start to a Hall of Fame career. And with that, Henderson slots in at third base, completing the infield. We've been talking about the infield for so long, I think it's time to get to the outfield. But first, this video is sponsored by... Nah, I'm just kidding, I don't got a sponsor yet. Speaking of deals, Lamar still hasn't signed that new contract extension yet. No, he wants all that guaranteed money, but dang, dude. We don't got that kind of money in Baltimore. Now, going into the outfield, you got the tough decision. Who do you start? Austin Hayes or Kyle Stowers? Or even both? Now, it really depends on how you look at it. Towards the end of last year, Kyle Stowers was a great piece for the Orioles as they made their playoff push, while Austin Hayes floundered at the plate. Let's not forget, though, that Austin Hayes was arguably the Orioles' best hitter for the first half of the season, barely missing out on the All-Star team. I mean, before he got a little banged up, he was really looking like what the kind of prospect he was projected to be as. Obviously, he's always a great defensive outfielder, as a cannon for an arm. But when he started to mash with the bat, he really looked like a five-tool player. Now, if he played as well as he did against the Yankees every single game, he'd probably be a top 5 MVP candidate every year. But unfortunately for Hayes, every stadium isn't as small as Yankee Stadium. Poor Garrett Cole. Now, moving to the other side of the spectrum, we got Kyle Stowers. Came up as a rookie last year, first in Toronto when Anthony Santander couldn't play because of Canada reasons. But, he was doing pretty solid. But Stowers, who's only played a handful of big league games as opposed to Hayes, who's been in the big leagues for a couple of years now, there's two sides of it. You got a lot of potential, or do you go with Hayes with the guy with more experience? It's a really tough argument. Which is why across the season, I think they're going to go with both guys. I think Anthony Santander is going to get a little bit working at DH more often than not, maybe work at first base a handful of games in the season, as he did in the minor leagues when he's still with Cleveland. But that leaves room for one more guy. Ryan McKenna. There is definitely not copyright music in this original video. Please don't track my YouTube channel, YouTube. This clip's going longer than I expect. Always over. Ryan McKenna may in fact be the 26th man on the roster for the Orioles this season. But goddamn is he one of my favorite players on the team. He's like that one freshman kid on varsity in high school who'd do anything to get playing time for coach. He'll go warm up the right fielder. He'll go shag balls. He'll even get the coach a beer if he needs one. I mean, this dude just needs it all. You need a defensive replacement late in the game? He's got it. You need a pinch runner? He's got it. You need a guy hit against lefties? Okay, maybe not. He definitely won't be starting. But I'm just hoping McKenna can get into quite a few games this season and really expand upon his performance, especially with the bat, because we know he can field and run. He's almost like a younger Hayes. He can field, he can run, just got to see what he can do with the bat. Moving on to the actual starting center fielder for the Orioles on opening day, Cedric Mullins. God, I gotta stop using these corny ass memes. That fucking Remember when Cedric Mullins first got called up, he was still switch hitting. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, but that's something changed in 2021. Just a little minor adjustment. He gave up switch hitting. He started hitting with his natural, more dominant lefty side. What a genius strategy. No, wait, just thought about it. Never mind. And once he made that switch, Cedric went on a tear. He became the first Orioles position player to have a 30-30 season. Ever. Yeah, this guy, the guy whose MLB The Show card looked like this. But after that 2021 season, in 2022, Cedric came more down to earth and had a down season. Which is why I put in quotation marks, down season, as it was really a down season. Now, I mean, frankly, over the entire season, he was probably the Orioles' second best hitting player over the entire season, only behind this other dude. Sorry, Ryan McKenna, but Cedric Mullins will be sliding in at center field. So, of course, barring no injuries, this is what I believe the Orioles' 8 starting position players on opening day will be. Of course, guys like Taron Vavra and Ryan McKenna on the bench, but we don't got room for them in this graphic. And going in at DH, we have Anthony Santander, or as I like to call him, Anthony Slamtander, because he hit 33 home runs last year and was third in the American League in the second half last year. This dude hits taters. Anthony Tony Taters. God damn, this guy's good. He's been killing it for Team Venezuela as well. Alright, it's finally time to get into the pitching, which is surprisingly better than most years before. Now, obviously, we won't be going over every single pitcher because we don't got time to go over another 13 players on the roster, so we're just going to be going over the starting rotation and a few key bullpen pieces. With John Means coming back from Tommy John surgery at some point in the season, he should greatly bolster this Orioles rotation. God, we've never seen John Means with Adley Rutschman. With Means coming back in June or July, it will almost be like a trade acquisition at the deadline. But we'll already know which Orioles pitcher is struggling the most, and it's going to be interesting to see which one of those 5 pitchers it will be, as we'll take a look at them now. Started out with Cole Irvin, who the Orioles traded for back in the offseason. He'll be a Jordan Lyles-esque type of pitcher, as he'll eat up innings for you. Irvin generated an ERA just under 4 with a 2.1 WAR. Now, Cole Irvin's not going to go out there and win a Cy Young for the Orioles, but he's going to be very serviceable and chew up innings. Moving on to the other big pitcher acquisition in the offseason, Kyle Gibson. Right now, Kyle Gibson is basically the Orioles' de facto ace heading into opening day, as he will most likely start on opening day. Now, that's not official just yet, but that's what I presume. Now, he's certainly not blowing anyway with those stats, but he will certainly be a serviceable pitcher to lead this young pitching staff. Now, heading over to the 2 younger pitchers, Kyle Bradish and Dean Kramer. It's going to be interesting to see if these 2 pitchers can build on their successful 2022 seasons. Now, heading over to the wild card, the most exciting pitcher on this potential Orioles 2023 pitching staff, Grayson Rodriguez. Now, it's not 100% that Gray Rod will be on the opening day roster for the Orioles, but I believe he will, assuming the Orioles don't pull a Chris Bryant and manipulate Grayson's service time to get an extra year. But Gray Rod blew away hitters with his stuff in 2022. Commanding fastball? Check. Devastating changeup? Check. Velo? Check. Control? Check. This man has got it all. He is your dream pitcher, future bona fide ace if everything goes well. Now, the only thing that limited Gray Rod to be calling up in 2022 was a lat injury, which absolutely devastated his grip. But since coming back in spring training, Gray Rod has said that he, in fact, feels better pitching. In 17 starts pitching to a 6-2 record with a 2.62 ERA, but with 109 strikeouts at 75 innings is absolutely insane. You know he's got the stuff. He's just got to produce at the major league level now, and he could potentially be a future ace for the Orioles. Now, rounding out the roster, we'll finish with the bullpen, which was absolutely dominant in 2022. It was what carried the Orioles to that 83-win season. Now, the Orioles obviously traded away all-star closer Jorge Lopez at the trade deadline last season, but they still got stars like Brian Breaker, Ciano Perez, and even adding former Oriole Michael Givens in the offseason. But we will be covering their star-studded closer, the Mountain Felix Bautista. With their all-star closer Jorge Lopez being traded, it paved the way for Bautista to step into the closer's role. And he was absolutely dominant in his rookie season, pitching to a 2.19 ERA with a 2.6 WAR. And there's no secret to Bautista's magic, having an incredible fastball that gets up to 100 miles an hour with a devastating splitter. With a combination like this, there's no question how Bautista is so dominant. Bautista was once a failed starter in the minors, but ever since moving to the bullpen, he shot up the minor leagues. At the start of spring training, there was question whether Bautista would be on the opening day roster or not due to injury. But with his recent appearance in spring training, it's looking like he'll be the star closer in Boston come opening day. But with the roster now filled out, it's time to make a prediction. In 2022, the Orioles obviously shocked everyone with an 83-79 record. But what would it be in 2023? The over-under for it right now is 76.5 wins, I believe. But with no real losses in the offseason, I see the Orioles getting well over that and reaching 85 wins. Now, will they get a wild card spot? I'd honestly give it a 50-50 shot. But what do you think the Orioles' record will be in 2023? I gotta get back to watching March Madness, so I'll see you guys in the next video.